So what's up guys, I am BlackOpsAmazing, welcome back to another Zombies questions, where today I'm taking your questions from the comment section below and trying my very best to answer them. If there's any questions that you have, make sure you leave them down there and I'll try and answer them in the next video. But if you do go on to enjoy this one, make sure you leave a like rating by the end, that would be very much appreciated. If we could shoot for 2,000 likes on this video, that would mean an awful lot to me. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel, but without further ado, let's get into this. So the first question from Angle, or is it Angel? Is it Angel? The first question says, what happened to Gersh? Well, Gersh, as we know, was a Soviet scientist and the leader of the Ascension group. He oversaw Project Thunder and worked with Yuri Zavosky on the Gersh device, which was Project Mercury. But as we know, soon enough, Gersh thought that Yuri was becoming distracted and so transferred him over to rocket research. And this made Yuri angry. Yuri didn't want to work on rockets, he wanted to work on the Gersh device. And so during his time there, Yuri discovered Richtofen's diary, where he began to read it, and upon doing that, Samantha then began to take control of Yuri's mind, driving him insane until he broke down, where finally he agreed to follow Samantha's orders. Samantha then ordered Yuri to trick Gersh, and that's exactly what he did. Yuri went behind his back, completed the Gersh device, and then told Gersh to activate it. And upon doing so, Gersh was then sucked into a black hole. And as we know, in fact, he was trapped inside of the Casimir mechanism. And so, when our four characters, Richtofen, Takio, Nikolai, and Dempsey, finally arrive at Ascension, it is then our job to free Gersh. He tells us that the mechanism must be repaired and that we must free his soul, and that's exactly what we do. We free Gersh from the mechanism, and then his soul floats up into the air and disappears, and that was the last time we saw him in Ascension. And from then on, Gersh was just left to wander the universe, stuck in an ethereal form as kind of like a soul just floating about an orb. Having lost track of space and time, he eventually arrived at a city on fire by the river. As we know, he arrived at Krovi, where in Krovi we see him as a glowing yellow orb flying through the map. And Sophia tells us to retrieve him as part of the Ascension protocol. And so our characters go to retrieve Gersh. And after being provoked a few times, he begins to recognize the crew, though he doesn't realize that actually they are an alternate version, specifically the premise version of the Ultimate crew that he originally saw in Ascension. But eventually, as we know, Gersh agreed to travel to Sophia, where she went on to extract information from him, a process that she claimed to be most painless. But as we could hear, Gersh was screaming in agony as Sophia extracted information from him. Though after that, his status was left unknown. We heard Gersh screaming in Ascension as Sophia was getting information from him, but after that, what happened? We don't know. Did she eventually kill him through the torture? Did he just fade away or carry on floating throughout the maps after Sophia had her information? Is Gersh dead? Is he alive? We don't know. The next question says, when you revive someone, you pull out a needle. Where did that needle come from? Who made it? And also, is it a cure? So yes, as we see, if you go to revive someone in Zombies, you pull out this, and then you inject it in them. You use this to revive them. And this has actually been in the game for a very long time. Now obviously this isn't, or at least it doesn't look like something magical. It's not like Quick Revive the perk. It actually seems like a cure that we use, or something that we use, an injection to revive our players. Now is there truly a storyline behind this? Since we haven't heard anything about it, I would say no. But you could also ask the question, is this a cure then that maybe someone made? Someone that was in Group 935, specifically I'm thinking of Maxis. Is this a cure for the zombies? Or is this simply maybe just a drug to get you up? I don't know, there's no story behind it, but it's never really something that's mentioned, so I thought I'd bring it up. Harvey Nelson says, how do the characters travel around? Well, they use various different methods. The main one was simply just by using a teleporter. Especially in the beginning, in the World at War and Black Ops 1 days, they used a teleporter, for example, to get to Shiononuma. They used a teleporter to get there from Derice. As we know, they then used the teleporter in Derice to get to Kino der Toten. To get from Kino der Toten mentioned to Ascension they used a lunar lander that was just for some reason sitting in the theatre, so that one's a bit weird, but anyway, that's what they used. Then as we know, they've used other various modes of transport. The main one is the teleporter, but they've used other things. In Black Ops 3 they used the Rift, they also used a giant robot to get from the Giant to Die Rise and Draka, and then if we go to the Transit crew in Black Ops 2, we know they travelled around with the help of Richtofen. Richtofen, who was in control of the zombies, because he had that power, could teleport the Transit crew from place to place. So that's how all of the characters moved around. Jack the Boss says, what if the 2.0 Richtofen didn't kill the 1.0 Richtofen? Well, by 2.0 I assume you mean the premise Richtofen, and I assume the situation you're talking about is the one in the Giant, where Richtofen comes out of the teleporter and kills the 1.0 version of himself. If he didn't kill himself though, what would happen? Well, of course it'd change the story, but I don't think it would drastically. We know that Richtofen didn't kill his 1.0 self to collect the soul. He already collected his soul before that from Dimension 2210. So he didn't kill his original self for that reason. He killed him so he could be resurrected, so he would turn into Undead Richtofen, and then Undead Richtofen would go on to push the Transit crew into collecting the Chronorium. So if, as you say, 2.0 Richtofen didn't kill 1.0 Richtofen, then Undead Richtofen wouldn't have been resurrected, and that possibly would have meant that the Transit crew would have never collected the Chronorium. It was the Undead Richtofen in the comics who went on to push and scare the Transit crew into collecting the Chronorium. It was kind of like the Undead Richtofen guided them where to go. Whenever the Transit crew needed to move on and go to a different location, Undead Richtofen would quickly scare them off, so they would keep moving. So if he wasn't there, possibly they wouldn't collect the Chronorium, and then as we know, if Richtofen never got the Chronorium, all of this what occurs in Black Ops 3 would have never happened. Vaultboy says, and a lot of people were wondering this, but why did they remove the swastikas from Black Ops 1 in Black Ops 3? Simple answer is because in certain countries, especially Germany, the swastika isn't allowed. So if they'd put that into the game, simply they can't sell that DLC in Germany. As we know, a lot of people in Germany do enjoy zombies. It's not only Germany, it's other countries as well, so that's one reason. The second one is a lot of people still get offended by it, so that's another reason not to put it in, but they're pretty much the two main reasons why we don't see it anymore in COD. Simply because if it was in the game, it can't be sold in certain countries. Ninja says, is Transit in the 1990s? And also, if so, when Richtofen teleports the characters to Die Rise, do they also go forward in time? So first off, Transit takes place in the year 2035, not the 1990s. I know a lot of people get confused because of the way the map looks. The scenery is kind of old, but it actually does take place in 2035. Die Rise also takes place in 2035, but one day after. So Transit takes place on October the 21st, Die Rise takes place on October the 22nd. So yes, they haven't gone forward in time, they've just been teleported by Richtofen to a different location. Same year, just the next day. Now I've seen this theory quite a few times since Transit is released. It is the farm map and part of Transit the farm where Misty came from? And I can see why a lot of people would make this assumption. Even though not much is known about Misty's past, we do know that she used to live on a farm. Her mother died of an unknown cause whilst her father was killed by zombies. Now I've done a full video on Misty's background and her story. If you want to check that video out, I will link it down in the description. But as I just said, we do know that Misty is a farm girl. She grew up on a farm, and we can clearly see that from just the way she is, her clothing. She did grow up on a farm. We also know she's American, and so considering that the only farm we have in zombies is the one that we see in Transit, it's very easy to link the two up. Did Misty grow up on this farm? Is this where she used to live? Now in all honesty, we don't know this, nothing is confirmed, but I would think if Misty grew up on this farm, when we play it as her, when we go to this location with her, wouldn't she have said something about it? Wouldn't she have at least mentioned that she remembers this place or that she used to live here? It's a little bit strange. However, we do know after the zombie outbreak, Misty met Malton, who we know she had a crush on, but the two fought against the zombies in a town in Hanford, where they were eventually picked up by Russman and Stuhlinger in the bus. So Misty and Malton were fighting in a town in Hanford, which was very close to this farm. If Misty could easily get to this town near to where farm is, then is it possible that actually she did live here, since the place where she's picked up is literally probably a few miles from this farm? That also leaves us a bit suspicious. Did Misty grow up on this farm. I actually think it's possible. And also a small, what we presume to be an Easter egg, something strange anyway when you go to farm, is actually if you look in the reflection of the sniper and the scope, you can see the background when you go to the farm area. The reflection in the scope kind of looks like it's showing the past of farm, where it's not destroyed, the sky is bright and clear, it's a nice sunny day, there's no lava anywhere, the farm is, instead of trashed, in perfect condition. We don't know if this is an intentional Easter egg, or just something Treyarch forgot to fix in this area to do with this sniper, but there's been a lot of theories saying that maybe this is showing the farm where Misty used to live at before the outbreak. There's definitely a lot of clues that show that possibly this is where she grew up, although we don't know, and the strangest one for me is the fact that she doesn't mention it when she goes here. We don't know, all we can do is theorize, but let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Anyway, there we go, that is it for today's video. Hopefully you have all enjoyed. If you have, a like rating would be appreciated. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest Mistys videos on the channel. Leave any questions you have in the comment section below, and I will see you all in the next video. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.